Good morning. Welcome to Rev K Raw. Today's topic, the downward spiral. Ever have one of those days where you're just in a funk? My grandma used to call it waking up on the wrong side of the bed. That happened to me recently, where I just got up and I was having one of those days where I was really feeling down in the dumps. Now, the first thing I want to say here is my comments today are directed toward people who are generally on an even keel. Okay, so if you're a person who suffers from chronic depression or perhaps a bipolar disorder, you want to talk to a professional therapist. Okay, I'm really talking about folks that periodically we experience kind of that existential angst, spiritual malaise where we just wake up or we have a day where we're, just kind of not with it or out of sorts. So that happened for me recently, and the way it showed up for me was that I had this sense that I was a failure. Now, what I want to say about those kinds of experiences is the first thing we need to do is allow ourselves to be with whatever is happening emotionally. So if it's if you're having a sense of a down in the dumps kind of day, this downward spiral, that you allow yourself to feel whatever it is that you're feeling. If it's frustration, or perhaps anger, or just, kind of tears, whatever it is, for us to be with it emotionally first, okay? That's the first piece. The second piece is to ask ourselves, is there something showing up here that I need to be attentive to? Like, is there some kind of unmet or unwanted desire, unmet need or desire that I'm not being attentive to, that's actually asking for me to be attuned into and explore that. Okay, so be with it and explore it and say, is there something here that my spirit is asking for? And then the next piece, after you've had a chance to do that, is to actually look at the landscape of your life and see what's happening on the landscape of your life, because that's an indicator of what's happening on the interior, okay? Because what's happening on the interior is what we bring out into manifestation. And if you can look at the exterior of your life and say in this landscape that, in fact, what I'm seeing in the landscape of my life doesn't square with this feeling of being in a funk. In other words, you can look at the landscape of your life and say, in my case, I feel like a failure. And I look at the landscape of my life and I go, wow, you know what? That's actually not true, because I see all of the ways that I am not a failure. Then we can say, all right, it's just a day or a time where I'm feeling out of sorts. In my case, too, I needed to take a look at how I'm defining success. And as I looked at how it is that I'm defining success and began to shift into a different definition of what that is, the two pieces really came into alignment. Okay, this piece of what's happening on the landscape of my life is actually the barometer and a true indicator of success, and that no, I'm really not a failure, even though I was emotionally having an experience of it for that particular period of time that day. So when you find yourself, and if you find yourself on that downward spiral, give yourself the gift of breathing into it, allow yourself to feel how you feel. Ask if there's something that needs attending to. Look at what's happening on the landscape of your life, and then allow all of that to inform and shape where it is that you feel you need to take your next steps, or perhaps simply acknowledge that, in fact, you're really doing okay. Have a blessed day. Namaste.